He's the Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster and Labour Party National Campaign Coordinator. And Pat, good morning to you. I assume that's the main thrust of what you're about in this new position.
It is. I'm sorry it's a bit of a mouthful, but you got it perfectly there. So you've described it very accurately. What it means in real terms is shadowing the work of the Cabinet Office in Parliament and also playing this role in leading up Labour's general election campaign planning.
See The Guardian describing you as Labour's most powerful politician that most people have never heard of. Of course, not GB News viewers. I feel like you're on every day. And we also know you well because you've been knocking around a bit, haven't you? You were a special advisor to Tony Blair. So you are, you know, everyone's been talking about it the last few days. You are the sort of very shining example, the emblem of the renaissance of Blairism.
I don't know about that, but I quite like being able to go into a pub and have a pint of Guinness in lovely anonymity. So I'm not going to fight the Guardian description of me. It's not fame that I'm in this for. It's to do the best job I can for my constituents, for the country, for the Labour Party. That's what Keir Starmer's asked me to do. I'm not too interested in the labels, to be honest. Yes, I worked with Tony Blair. I'm a great admirer of Tony Blair's. I think there's a lot to learn from the Blair government, but it's 15 years or more since he left office. So my challenge to journalism is maybe try to widen the lexicon of descriptive words a bit after 15 or 16 years. I live in hope.
It's newsworthy when 5 of the former advisors to Blair are back in the shadow cabinet. But anyway, we move on. But
Pat, we're talking about the dangers of RAC and who knew what. What did you know during the Blair years? And do you feel, can you look back and say, we really tried to do something about this, or are you as guilty as this present Conservative government?
We really can say that we tried to do something about the school buildings estate. We had a programme called Building Schools for the Future, which was a plan to renew 700 schools. Some of the schools in my constituency benefited from that programme, but it was cancelled virtually on day one after the 2010 election when we left office. And there's been an extraordinary story just in the last 24 hours that 13 of the schools that have been closed in the last few days were down for improvement under that programme that was cancelled immediately by the Conservatives when they came into office. So the situation that we have today, you're right in what you're asking. In a way, it's been a long time coming, but this is an appalling indictment of 13 years of Conservative rule. Imagine the picture of children either not being able to go to school or being taught in classrooms where the ceilings are being propped up by steel girders. Our children deserve better than that, and I'm sad to say that under the Prime Minister's watch, there were further cuts in the school capital programme when he was Chancellor, and that was all outlined the other day by the former Permanent Secretary at the Department for Education when he said that they bid for more money to try to deal with this RAC problem, and they ended up with less than they had in the first place.
But Pat, there are lessons that have to be learned that aren't going to be party political. I mean, when you look about this, whether it's a Conservative government, a coalition government, a Labour government on this, why on earth, people are asking, was anybody building schools that were only supposed to last 30 years in the first place by using this aerated concrete? I mean, surely that was a really bad decision from the onset. And is that the end of that sort of thing? Are we ever likely to see that sort of bad decision again?
Well, you wouldn't be using that material today. My understanding is it was used because it was lightweight, easy to manoeuvre and so on. The problem with the material has come, as you say, it had a sort of shelf life or an expected lifespan of about 30 years. When you get beyond that and water gets into it, it gets weak and then it can get unstable and you've got the problems that we're seeing. So perhaps there is a lesson in this about being penny wise and pound foolish, in that when you're rebuilding things, do it for the long term and do it in a way that will last. We learned from history about buildings that last, and maybe we should apply that lesson in the future too. But I hope you forgive me for the party political points, because I do feel that this should have been seen coming and something should have been done about it long before now.
Well, we forgive you because the party political points come the other way as well, don't they? And you know, we talk about capital funding. It's not a sexy part of budgets. That's why it often gets cut. But you know, the point scoring is coming from the right now, who's saying, well, can Labour be better trusted when it comes to investment? You only have to look at what's happened with Labour running Birmingham City Council. That's declaring bankruptcy, and that's not going to help your argument when you're trying to convince the electorate that you can balance the books.
Well, the situation in Birmingham is serious, but it's not the only council that's in this position. We've had Woking and Thurrock, Conservative controlled councils, who've also been in the same position. There are particular issues that have driven Birmingham to this. There's a big equal pay cost, but it's not a matter of one party in control. Different councils run by different political parties have been in this situation in the last couple of years. Birmingham is not the first, and my fear, given the wider financial situation with local authorities, is that it won't be the last either.
And it'll not be the last time we see you on our screens, Pat McFadden, who is now the Labour Party National Campaign Coordinator. Thanks, Pat. Good talking to you and good luck in the new job.